Picture this. You're relaxing on a beach in Adelaide, Australia, when suddenly you see something shocking. Just lying there on the sand, almost camouflaged by the early morning mist, is a dead man. Now that's not exactly what you'd expect to see while sipping your coffee and reading the newspaper. But this wasn't just any man. Something about him was different. His legs were crossed, his head propped up against a nearby seawall like he was taking a midday nap, as if death had caught him off guard. But even more disturbing, there were no signs of a struggle. No blood or bruises, nothing. It was almost as if the man had fallen asleep and never woken up. As the sun rose higher and more people arrived at the beach, details of the dead man began to emerge. Someone had carefully removed every label from his clothes, including the tags inside. And as the tide receded, it revealed something else. A tiny, tightly rolled piece of paper protruding from a secret pocket sewn into the inside of his pants. Like an old love letter, a secret message. And under the microscope, investigators saw that it contained two words written in pencil: should. When translated, those words meant it is finished, or it is ended. They also discovered that the phrase was taken from a rare book of ancient Persian poetry, called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The book was about life, death, and fate, and was apparently popular among those who felt a bit suicidal. But the biggest mystery was the dead man himself. Who was he? Where did he come from? Why was he on this beach? The police released photos of him to the media in hopes that someone would recognize him, but no one did. Not a single missing person report matched his description. Then a few days later, a man entered the local police station and told them he had found a copy of the Rubaiyat in his car, which he assumed must have been left. Thereby the dead man on the beach. And inside the book, scrunched up and hidden between the pages, was a piece of paper with a strange assortment of capital letters. Beneath the code, someone had written a phone number. The police quickly tracked down the owner. Her name was Nurse Wynne, a 36-year-old nurse who lived close to the beach. When shown a photograph of the dead man, she turned visibly pale and shook her head. She told the police that she didn't know him, but witnesses said that she looked terrified. She died in 2002 at the age of 85, taking any secrets she might have had to her grave. The mysterious dead man became known locally as the Somerton Man. For decades, his story circulated around Adelaide, but it was until 2021 that scientists attempted to extract his DNA in hopes of finally solving the case. Unfortunately, even the power of modern science was not enough to crack the code of the dead man's identity. All we have to go on now is what little evidence remains. A scrap of paper with a cryptic message, a book about fate, and a handful of disturbed locals. So what actually happened to him? We may never know for sure. Let's take a stab at some possible theories. Perhaps he was a spy who had information written on his body that would have been useful if captured. Maybe he was a victim of foul play, even though there were no obvious signs of violence. Perhaps the killer was trying to send a message with a cryptic note. Or maybe it was a copycat, mimicking a famous unsolved case from the 1930s, where a man was found dead in a similar position with a mysterious note. But even if this man jumped into the water fully clothed and drowned, it seems unlikely that someone would have gone to such lengths to conceal his identity. Then again, maybe it wasn't an enemy who killed him, but the man himself. Perhaps he was a writer, a professor, an intellectual, who felt suffocated by the pressures of life and took his own life. But if so, why leave the poem without its first line? The opening verse of the Rubaiyat goes, "A goblet full of wine I raise to thee, O God of the ages." Hardly the words of a man who feels his life is meaningless. So was he a poet or an undercover agent? A murder victim or a suicidal professor? Or was he someone else entirely? The truth is, after all these years, no one knows. What do you think happened to the Somerton Man? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to hear more creepy stories just like this one, then be sure to stay tuned. Thanks for watching.